Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Society, officially located in East Brunswick, New Jersey. Today, coming to you from multiple locations throughout Central Jersey and coastal Maine. I am Cliff Ashcraft, today's worship associate. I welcome you to our online Sunday service. If you're new, a very special welcome to you. We hope you experience connection and compassion and even a sense of coming home. If you would like to learn more about the congregation, feel, feel free to type into the chat where you're joining us from and to use the chat as a way to engage, interact, and praise. Please ignore the chat if it is distracting. After our Sunday services, there is a virtual coffee hour that we invite you to stay for, a great way to strengthen connections. We hope you will stay. We hope you caught our announcements before the service started. If you missed them, no worry, they will be repeated during the offertory. Thank you today to our worship crew, Jonathan Stevens as our Zoom tech, Jessica Hess is our chaplain, and our music director, Nicholas Place. Today, we have as our guest minister, Anthony Cruz, current ministerial intern at the Community Church of New York. He has spent the first 5 years of his career studying the intersections of cultural studies, theology, and spirituality, seeking to create spaces of renewed imagination and collective liberation. Currently, he serves as a council member at the Latinx Humanist Alliance, an affiliate of the American Humanist Association. We warmly welcome him this morning.
Okay, go ahead.
Following in the footsteps of one of the congregation's children, I invite us all now to kindle our at-home chalices, joining our flames with the virtual chalice at our beloved sanctuary, a sign of hope, a beacon of light in dark times, a symbol of resistance against evil. Let us now join together in saying our bond of union, one of the founding documents of the congregation. The words are on your screen. In the spirit of community and service, we unite in the quest for those values that give our lives deeper meaning and spiritual satisfaction, reserving to each individual the right to their own beliefs as to the nature of God and the universe.
Our voices must be heard by Reverend Jennifer Kwong. Spirit of life, you speak to us from the east and the west. You speak to us from the north and the south. You call us from the depth of our being. We respond with enthusiasm and fervor. We cry out from Manila to Maui. We shout from Alaska to Alabama. We proclaim your wondrous love from the highest mountain to the deepest ocean. Our voices must be heard. We shall not be silent. Our voices must be heard.
Good morning. My name is Jessica Hess. I'm your Director of Congregational Life. And this month, our Soul Matters theme is deep listening. I was just with some of our kiddos this morning, and we had to listen to clues, and we really had to have our listening ears on. This morning, I want to talk to you about some of our problems with deep listening, right? As adults, especially, we don't always listen with all of the things that we need with our hearts, really. So I want to tell you about a time for all ages, and a time where I did the time for all ages with my friend Minerva. Now, Minerva couldn't be here this morning. This is the time of the week where magical creatures meet, a Sunday morning. So I'm going to show you a picture, and I do have Minerva's photo consent. This is Minerva. She's a unicorn. And when I was doing this time for all ages, I expected, because Minerva is a unicorn, that she would know all of these things, right? About how to have her listening ears on. It didn't go so well. So sometimes there are subjects that we really need to have deep listening. So I'm going to tell you about the time for all ages. I'm going to sort of reenact it for you and tell you what happened with Minerva. And we have a few more photos of Minerva during this time. So things like Black Lives Matter, other people's views on faith, like last week, LGBTQIA plus rights for everyone, voter suppression, bullying. For our young people in our congregation, ageism is a big one. Sometimes they're not fully listened to because of their chronological age, and equal rights for all. So I know that for me, sometimes I think I know things, and maybe that happens for you other adults. So time for all ages. It was a wonder box, and our young people know what that is, where I have a box and we take some magical thing out. So I pull this out and we see what it is. This is what we need for deep listening, right? So Minerva says, remember my friend Minerva, she says, "Oh, that's an ear." I said, "No, Minerva, it is not an ear." I said, "This is a heart." And Minerva, gets distracted really easily. So I'm talking to the congregation like I'm talking to you. And I look back over, and this is Minerva. This is what's happening. Minerva's not really paying a whole lot of attention, but I continue. Sometimes we have to hear things with our hearts more and more often. So I said, when you listen with your heart, you can find out how people feel. Part of deep listening is listening with our heart so that we can hear another person truly and fully. It is one way we show compassion, and it means really paying attention when a person's trying to tell you something. And I look over, and all of a sudden, Minerva says, "I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention." I said, "That's what I thought." And Minerva says, "What? I was listening." I said, "No, what I said was listening with your heart means that you're paying attention when a person is trying to tell you something." Here's Minerva. Listening with your heart means that you pay attention when someone is trying to tell you something. I look over, and what do I see? This. Listening with your heart means you pay attention when someone's trying to tell you something. Minerva says, "Yeah, I hear you." I said, "Oh, okay." And Minerva actually said to me, "Wait, you mean listening with your heart means you really pay attention when someone's trying to tell you something?" Oh, Minerva. Yes, that's what I've been trying to tell you. So just remember that sometimes our friends As well-intentioned as they are, when we're talking about big things, deep listening is really important with our hearts. We are the church of the open mind. We are the church of the helping hands. We are the church of the listening heart. Blessed be.
Good morning. Our first hymn today is We Would Be One. Your lyrics are displayed on your screen. We would be one as now we join in singing our hymn of love to pledge ourselves anew to that high cause of greater understanding of who we are and what in us is true. We would be one in living for each other to show to all a new community. We would be one in building for tomorrow a nobler world than we have known today. We would be one in searching for that meaning which binds our hearts and points us on our way. As one we pledge ourselves to greater service. With love and justice strive to make us free. Let's all join our voices now and sing Spirit of Life. Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
In the spirit of generosity, we will now take up this morning's offering. We invite you to use the link in the chat. We call it Be the Change, turning what was once the change in our pockets into the change we want to see in the world. Half of this sustains this congregation, which sustains you. The other half goes to a worthy cause, living out our values and principles. Today's Be the Change recipient is the History Makers, the world's single largest archival collection dedicated to documenting the movements, events, and organizations that are important to the African American community and to American society. The goal of the History Makers is to use video oral history interviews to educate the world on the accomplishments of African Americans and provide real life counter narratives to some of the most contentious issues of today. With an inside look into the past and the present, the ignorance and prejudice prevalent in today's society can be combated with exposure to African American excellence and its relationship to American culture and progress. May your generosity heal the world and strengthen your heart.
This morning is titled Spirituality as a Political Praxis, an invitation to a critical ethic of care. Given our social, political, and religious status currently as a society, there's a lot of upheaval, uncertainty, doubt, fear. And we see either through social media, maybe our own inner conversations, concepts like spirituality, political, praxis, ethics, and maybe care. In this sermon, I hope to briefly engage for us these concepts in a way that will hopefully invite us to not only explore these concepts from an intellectual perspective, but that calls us forward, that calls us to move, that calls us to flow like the river, maybe upstream, maybe downstream, but hopefully for the benefit of others. Now, spirituality has many meanings, many definitions, but at least for the context of this sermon, I will define spirituality as the awareness of our own knowledge integrated to our culture. And culture, not from a universal perspective, but clearly paying attention to your social location in order to then being able to engage in a spirituality that makes you be in contact not just with your culture, not just with your knowing, but pushes you forward into relationship with others. Now, political praxis, some might say, what does that have to do with spirituality? Well, political does not have to do with one's own political affiliation, political ideology, and so on, but in terms of political understanding, meaning that through our vote, for example, we hold the power to determine the effect and impact that it will carry for generations to come, either for good or for ill. And so, as political beings, our praxis must be embodied in ways that produce liberation for those who are marginalized, for those who are oppressed within our societies. Political praxis calls us to be aware of our gender, sexuality, religion, national identity, economic status, immigration status, and many other realities that affect how we move and exist in this world. And so, as we explore deeply this invitation to a critical ethic of care, we must begin to critically question the ways that we have been socialized theologically, religiously, or if you don't use any of those terms, spiritually. The ways that we define our own understandings, and how that is moving us toward an ethic of care. Because after all, ethic is not about right or wrong, what behavior is appropriate or inappropriate. But ethic at its core has to do with the way that we create our worldview, the way that we decide to act in this world, the way that we think based on our lived experiences. And so these lived realities cause us, impels us to provide care. Now, care cannot be confused with charity, and it cannot be confused with sending emails or text. Though those actions are good and well intended, care is a step further. Care is the awareness and understanding that as human beings, we must strive to be whole. It means that through our spirituality, through our political praxis, through the critique of our own self, we begin to look at the other from a relational framework, from a relational understanding. It is not calling us to just care for those close to us or those that share an immediate experience or educational, political, religious, or even communal connection. But it is the invitation to expand our notion of community, our notion of what does it mean to belong to a universal congregation. Some might say even a cosmic community, which is a resistance to binary and limited frameworks that only want to center our own immediate experience. But like I said at the beginning, our current social, cultural, political ending of us a radical response to leave the comfort of our own silos, to embrace the other, to act in ways where justice, liberation, and wholeness are centered, to be able to achieve human flourishing for all of us. Thank you.
Our final hymn today is For the Beauty of the Earth. Lyrics are displayed on your screen. For the beauty of the earth, for the splendor of the skies, for the love which from our birth over and around us lies, source of all, to thee we raise this our hymn of grateful praise. For the joy of ear and eye, for the heart and mind's delight, for the mystic harmony, linking sense to sound and sight, source of all, to thee we raise this our hymn of grateful praise. For the wonder of each hour, of the day and of the night, hill and vale and tree and flower, sun and moon and stars of light, source of all, to thee we raise this our hymn of grateful praise. For the joy of human care, sibling, cousin, parent, child, for the kinship we all share, for all gentle thoughts and mild, source of all, to thee we raise this our hymn of grateful praise.
following words are by Adrienne Marie Brown, a Black feminist activist. Political home, on the other hand, is a place where we ideate, practice, and build futures we believe in, finding alignment with those we are in accountable relationship with, and growing that alignment through organization and education. Political home is where we solidify our critiques and generate solutions for human and planetary futures.
We extinguish this chalice, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. In a moment, you will receive an invitation to join a breakout room for coffee hour. Please click the join button if you wish to attend. Thank you for joining us for this morning's service. May you be well.